Oh, you poor Jaguars fans. You and I have had some rounds over the past few years, and let's be honest. While they haven't been the Cleveland Browns, the Jacksonville Jaguars have been one of the most inept franchises in the National Football League. Period, cut and dry, end of story. And you know it's true. Um, and now you're supposed to be excited about Doug Marrone. The guy that was the head coach of Buffalo for 2 years, overplayed his hand, thinking there were greener pastures elsewhere, wanted to cut tail and run, ultimately find out that nobody else wanted to give him a head coaching gig. So that way he had to go to Jacksonville, where he ultimately undercut the head coach at the time, Gus Bradley, and tried to politic and let everybody know that he was better cut out for the job and things would be better with him, and I would give him credit for this. He power played his ass into another NFL head coaching gig. Hooray. But is Doug Marrone really the guy that gets you excited? And it's just, you kind of look at the Jags and you're like, sometimes it seems like no matter what they do, it just doesn't work. Like Gus Bradley was a hot assistant for the Seattle Seahawks. They brought him in. It clearly didn't work. You know, they spend big money on free agents. They did it again this offseason with guys like Calais Campbell and A.J. Bouye and Barry Church. And again, it doesn't matter. Sometimes I think it has something to do with good players on very good teams tend to not play as hard or play as well when they get paid big time money, great money to play on crappy teams. Some of it is when you sign a Malik Jackson last year, you sign a Calais Campbell this year, and both guys are better suited to play in the 3-4. They've had their best success playing in a 3-4, and you ultimately put them in a situation where they're playing really out of position and out of their comfort level and scheme fit in a 4-3. That just makes no sense. If you're going to spend money to bring in those type of guys, you need to custom make a system that fits around their skills, and the Jaguars do the exact opposite, and that's what bad organizations do. They overpay for a guy like A.J. Bouye based off of 1 year of production in Houston. They give money to a guy like Barry Church, who's a solid player, but he's not a difference maker. It's just, you do stuff like that, and you invest that heavily in free agency, and you're never going to get anywhere long term. You're just not. Now, in the interest of fairness for this organization, as much as I've given them crap in recent years, and as easy as they are to bash, and they deserve every bit of it and more, the fact is that in some of the recent years, the drafts haven't been as bad. I mean, look at this year's draft, getting Leonard Fournette and Cam Robinson. You've got 2 day one starters, assuming one or both are healthy, especially Fournette with his stinking foot. But Fournette has the potential to be a philosophy changer, an organization changer at the running back position. Cam Robinson has the potential to be that blindside protector on the left side that this organization has been looking for since, really honestly, the days of Tony Baselli. And when you throw in there some nice skill talent on the offensive side of the ball, Allen Robinson, Allen Hurns, Marquise Lee, you could even throw in 4th-round pick D.D. Westbrook, who has some speed and ability to stretch defenses vertically. A pass defense with some talent now. You throw in the Boyes and the Barry Churches along with Tayshaun Gibson and especially Jalen Ramsey. You've got a nice secondary there. You've got some young talent on the defensive side of the ball with Ngakoue and Dante Fowler, if he pans out. Miles Jack, Telvin Smith, Jalen Ramsey, as mentioned before. You know, the talent cupboard is not completely bare in Jacksonville. And it's crazy because I opined last year after the 2016 draft that I felt to be able to get Jalen Ramsey in round 1 and Miles Jack in round 2 is the type of draft that will make a Jaguars team a division winner. And if it wasn't in 2016, it would be in 2017. And again, you look at that roster, there is talent there. Compared to the Jaguars of 5 years ago, I do not recognize this organization. They've got momentum in certain areas. They've got some real positives. The problem is they don't have a quarterback. When you're in a place where Blake Bortles is in the 4th year of his NFL career, and he's having to battle with Chad freaking Henne to keep his starting job, you know things have gone south. You know things have gone poorly. You know ultimately that Blake Bortles is a bust. Period. And you can bring in all this talent, and you can do all of these things, and you can improve the depth of your roster. You can improve on both sides of the ball. But if you don't have the quarterback, if you don't have that guy that can pull everything together and make everything fit, it just doesn't matter. And we could talk about players to watch on offense like Leonard Fournette, because again, you're talking about a guy that could come in and provide some type of Ezekiel Elliott type of production for the Jaguars as a rookie. Not so much in just pure numbers, but in the ability to help the Jaguars control the game, control the clock, limit the opponent's touches, limit the opponent's possessions, minimizing the risk of exposure of putting Blake Bortles out there to throw any more than he absolutely has to. I mean, he could be a real organization changer for them. You know, Cam Robinson as well. Can he finally be that blindside protector this team's been looking for damn near 20 years? On defense, is a guy like a Dante Fowler going to live up to that top 3 pick billing from a couple of years ago? Can he be another edge rusher for this team? And if he does, then man, that front 4 for the Jags looks pretty nice. It looks really good. It looks like a playoff front 4, and frankly looks like a playoff defense. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. Because if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a prayer. And I don't think anybody sits there and looks at Blake Bortles and thinks that he's that guy. And I still stand by the fact that if you had to get to the point where in the 3rd preseason game you started Chad Henne and were so unimpressed that you still ended up naming Blake Bortles the starter for week number 1 anyways, then it just indicates that the people in charge of the organization don't know what the hell they're doing, and that is up to and including the general manager, David Caldwell, who most certainly seems like when it comes to the things that matter the most, meaning the quarterback position, he missed. He don't know what the fuck he's doing, and holding him to his words of a few years ago, if Blake Bortles doesn't work out, he should be gone, and he absolutely should be. Because this was not just a little miss. This was not just a somewhat miss. This was a massive miss. Because you have enough talent in enough other places where the Jaguars should be contending in the AFC South. They should be thinking about winning a division. They should be thinking about making the playoffs and maybe making a little noise in the playoffs if they had any type of quarterback play whatsoever. But instead, they have a guy in Blake Bortles who's thrown more pick sixes in his career than he has wins as a starting quarterback. Yeah. When you look at this team's schedule, the first 2 weeks of the year, they go to Houston and then they host Tennessee. They really need to beat Tennessee in week number 2. Because I don't see any way in the world they're beating Houston in week number 1. To at least say your first 2 games, you went 1-1, but you won a game in the division would be a good start. It would be something to build off of for Doug Marrone. And then you look at like weeks 13 through 15, they've got 3 straight home games. They host Indiana, you've got Seattle, and then you've got Houston. You know, it could be one of those things where you could even catch Seattle napping potentially, you don't know. But you've got Indy at home, you've got Houston at home in that stretch. You really need to win both of those division games. I don't know if they can, but they really need to. And I look at this team, and I say their defense and Leonard Fournette are probably good enough right now to win them 6 to 7 games. Probably 6. Blake Bortles is shitty enough to lose the other 9 or 10 of them, honestly. That's what it comes down to. It sounds like an oversimplification, but what more can you really say? Blake Bortles is a bust, and that's why the Jaguars won't go anywhere. So even sitting there and laughing about a Doug Marrone being named the head coach, you know, if you get improvements from other areas, you can at least point to, hey, the offensive line play is better. The running game is much, much better in Jacksonville. You just have a terrible turd of a quarterback. You know, you could be surprised. Blake Bortles plays a little better than shitty. He's just crap, and this team might be sniffing around that divisional race all year long because, again, this division is not that good. I won't go that far and say that's what's going to happen, but I think the most important thing for the Jaguars this year is once and for all to ultimately find out that Blake Bortles is not their guy so they know what they need to do going into the 2018 season, and that is find a damn young quarterback to build around. Because you do have some other pieces here. This Jaguars organization is in a whole lot better shape in a lot of ways than they were 4 or 5 years ago. The problem is they've got to get over the mistake they made in Blaine Gabbert 2.0. I think they finish third in this division. They win 6 games, and then coming up this offseason, they're going to be desperately looking for a quarterback as bad as anybody else, because if they can find one, this will be a team that'll be in the mix a lot sooner than people might want to give them credit for.